Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for coming on over from the premiere. I hope you guys enjoyed what we did over there. But now this hour is all about you guys. So I know I have a lot of people from the United Kingdom in the chat right now. I had to change my sweater because I was having some issues. But I want to know what your questions are. I have some questions to start out with on Keir Starmer. We are going to be talking about Keir Starmer. So I will do another live with questions for you guys soon enough. And let's giddy up, Buttercup. So, and just a reminder, I'm going to be live on Hypsee after this. So if you do want to book a reading with me, you can do that once the app is open and running, which will be just in about an hour after this, depending on how many people we have in the live stream. So, I had some additional questions up here that I didn't cover, so I can kick off with those. And I hope you guys are having a great week. I have a little bit of a headache. I feel like I'm coming down with something. My nose was a little runny. I was sneezing. Angus gets sick every 5 minutes, so I'm sure he's infected me with something. Okay, let me get down to some of the questions here. So first thing I'm going to do, I did the clown music. I'm going to pull up the card view. Hit the like button, guys. Hit the like button. Let YouTube know you like what I'm doing over here. So is that big enough? Is your love big enough? All right. So what does Starmer need to embody, to stay aligned with the public's needs? What does he need to embody? What does he need to do? And guys, drop your questions. Put them in bold for me. Put them in bold. Capital letters. I won't think you're yelling at me. What does he need to embody? So he needs to stand down on some of those plans that he has right now. He needs more transparency, and he also needs to be a man of action. So what actions does he need to take? What actions does he need to take? He needs to stop the progress. So that sounds a little bit weird. What action does he need to take? He needs to stop. But I think if you know, I think if you're in the United Kingdom, you know what I'm talking about. Here, he needs to stop the progress because the damage that's coming. So is this an opportunity for Starmer to write his course of popularity with the British public? Is this an energetic opportunity for him to change course? Is it an opportunity for him to change course? We're going to use the little cards. So, that old chestnut, when someone introduces themselves to you, believe them, believe what they are showing you. I think we kind of have a situation like that here. I think this is, he's kind of let it be known what he is all about. Let it be known what he is all about. So Zeph, I can't read that. So after his election, Starmer did lean into the soft power of the monarchy. He did work with King Charles and Prince William to help charm Gulf leaders and court trade and investment to the United Kingdom. And that tells us that he does know how valuable the royal family is on the world stage. But what does he really think of the royal family? What does he really think of the royal family? What does he really think of the royal family? The institution. What does Starmer think of the institution of the royal family? This is pity. He pities them. That's such a weird kind of thing. I do think that he is under the impression that the royal family is far less popular and far more endangered than they have been in the past, in the last generation, in the Queen Elizabeth generation. I think he is under the impression that the public could do without it. And to a certain extent, I kind of understand this because my former sister-in-law that lived they live in Scotland. She's a Glaswegian by birth. And prior to their son going into military service and being in the Queen's Guard, he was actually in the Queen's Guard. He was actually in the Queen's Guard when the Queen passed away. She was very anti-royal family in terms of the expenditure. So I had gotten up with Ella very, very early. Ella was little, and we got all dressed up and we watched William and Catherine's wedding. And when I had told Tracy that we were doing that, she goes, "Ah!" And I go, "What? What? It's the royal family." She goes, "It's one more to keep." And I kind of cracked up, and I go, "Yeah, but and I go, I get it. You're in Scotland, like I get it." And she goes, "No. It's just an incredible expense that none of us really appreciate." But her appreciation of that changed once my nephew became involved with the service and was directly involved with the royal family. So. I think that Keir Starmer has individuals that are in his ear that are saying, it's an institution that's not necessary. So I do pities them, and that he feels that their power is very, very diluted with this king and possibly with the next king. What does Starmer see for the royal family in 2026? What does he intend to do in terms of the royal family in 2026? He's going to play nice. But he's going to be two-faced about it because he thinks it's a dead institution. I think that's quite clear. So we have one question on the table. I am going to drop this right here. Is Starmer being replaced by Rayner? Now, I want you guys to know I have talked about the replacement for Keir Starmer. And I did say some time ago, probably within the last 6 months, that they would like to replace Starmer, the powers that be, the cabal behind the scenes, that they would like to replace him because of his unpopularity, but they would need to replace him with someone who is more palatable for the public. I want to say like a better politician, but I think that he's a fairly good politician. So is he being replaced by Rayner, which is bananas? Look at that. We got a chariot card. She's moving on up to Downing Street. I don't think that she wields the same kind of power, but the same mechanisms are behind the scenes. And I think that their patience is waning with this particular prime minister. That was fun to say. That is regrettable for the UK. So I agree, Zeph. That is regrettable. I mean, she's in all that trouble. So oh no, Stephanie, I hope you are feeling better. Everybody drop some love in the chat for Stephanie. Oops, that's not what I want. Get rid of that. I put some magic in the chat for Stephanie, some good healing for her. Everybody drop that on in there. Drop it on in there. Thank you, Zeph. Stephanie, get well soon, girl. Little Canada Dry, representing the Commonwealth here. We got the Commonwealth on standby. Like I said, I'm feeling a little bit under the weather today. Not great. Not great. Everybody keep dropping some love in there for Stephanie. Keep dropping some love. All right. So, are there any points of tension between the monarchy and the government in the next year? Let's see. Oh, Merck, I'm only answering questions on Starmer right now. I'm going to have a live for you guys in a little bit. Not today, but I will do readings for you guys. Don't worry. I will let you know. It's possibly tomorrow. So this is a new format I'm just going to do for the week. And it seems to be, making everybody pretty happy. So, any points of tension? So with the royal family, here we go. Fairly well balanced at this point. I think everyone is playing exactly how they need to. Again, a certain level of politeness that we have here. Samantha, I got that. So there's a certain level of politeness here. Are they doing things behind each other's backs? Starmer doing things behind the royal family's backs? Absolutely. Is the royal family doing anything behind Starmer's back? Not necessarily. I think they are looking back at the great relationships with previous prime ministers, and they're trying to formulate a way to make that happen again. So I think that's fair enough. If someone has a good working relationship, you may want to say, well, how did that relationship work so well? What were the policies of the reigning monarch and the sitting prime minister? So I'm not surprised about that. What is the underlying chemistry between Starmer and Prince William for 2026? Underlying chemistry for Starmer and Prince William, the heir apparent, 2026. So I think they are both going to be quite guarded about their endeavors. I think goals will be kept quiet. The actual end game will be kept quiet from both of them. I think there's a very, very polite feeling here. I think William is going to be very polite. The two of them both, I think, are in not the same alignment for what they see for the future, not necessarily for the United Kingdom, but for the future. They both want to be change makers. I think William is a little bit different than Starmer. Up top, 8 of Cups. I do think that both of them are working to prevent the other from executing their will in totality. Here, we're going to have a stalemate with these two gentlemen. I don't think that either is going to let the other gain any ground. So I think With William and Starmer, I think they the ideas that they both have and the goals that they both have are counterproductive for each other. So I don't think that they're going to move forward too much. So that's where I want to stop that. Does Starmer's vision for a more modern Britain resonate with William and his future role? No, they are very, very different. They are very different. Starmer would like to see the change and the change of the royal family. So those of you that are on the vert, there you go. Change of tradition and change of the royal family. And William would like to see a modified version of the royal family that doesn't ignore tradition. That's what he wants to see. That is what he wants to see. So there we go. And speaking of seeing, look who I can see. I can see Denise Burnside. Welcome to my vision. I felt like I was calling you on the other side of a television set. Carolyn, Carolyn, where are you? Run to the light, Carolyn. So welcome to the fray, Denise Burnside. I can finally see what you're saying. So fantastic stuff. So we are scrolling down on some of my questions. How much influence? We're going to look at their influence here. How much influence does Starmer have over the royal family? How much influence does he have with Charles? Not a lot. Not a lot of influence there. How much does he have with William? William is willing to work with him. Equal partners. When we get the twos, it's equal partners. It's an equal partnership that works good. There's choreography between them. How about with the Princess Royal? The Princess Royal is keeping her opinions very close to her chest. She is not letting that out. How about the Princess of Wales? The Princess of Wales does not like him. I'm saying it right now. I don't think the Princess of Wales likes him. Sad Squirrel is one of the cards that is specific to this deck, and that is a toddler that is very frustrated with how things are going. What is it about him that bothers Catherine? She's keeping it very tight-lipped. She doesn't like that he is changing all of the tradition, and she thinks that he is creating a scary United Kingdom. That does not surprise me. Does not surprise me. So, not shocking. How should Starmer handle the crown to preserve stability and avoid backlash? That's balance, balance, balance. He's got to hop in the sack with them, and he's got to get to work. Get to work. That's what he's got to do. So working with them, not necessarily against them. Have at it. So I've got some more questions. Let me see if I've got any more questions here. Oh, this is a good one. Is Starmer helping Harry get back to the United Kingdom? Is Starmer helping Harry? Thanks so much, Haley. Is Starmer helping Harry? Moon in reverse. What is about to be revealed? Yep, there are some favors going on here. And I do think that Starmer is going to make the play that there were other things at hand here. There were other things at play. Three of Cups in reverse, Five of Wands, and the Nine of Pentacles. I think that Starmer will support the idea that poor little Harry is all on his lonesome, all out here, left adrift in the great big United States, the wild west of the United States. I think that that's going to be the play. And I think that one of the things that he will have to say specifically to the king is not to the Prince of Wales. I think he is going to say, for safety purposes, we need to bring this wayward prince home because it is more safe here in the United Kingdom than it is out there. I think the idea of Starmer kind of vilifying the rest of the world and saying, we need to bring our wayward boy home. The exposure for Harry is dangerous for him. Really, really terrible. So there we go. I think Starmer is in his pocket. Does it help Harry at all? Does it help Harry at all? No. What's done is done, guys. He's already said too much, and he's threatening. It's a thinly veiled threat that he is going to say more. So no, it's not going to work. Great question. Just for fun, Samantha Mustard, unaffiliated with Coleman's Mustard. Is Meghan going to run for president in 2028? She already has the website. She has no power here. She does not have, and she's going to be mad. That was what she wanted to do. We know that. So when will Trump dump Starmer? When is Trump going to really come out and say that Starmer is no bueno? Two of Swords. We're not going to see this for a little bit. It's not worth it to say anything yet. I think, again, this is indicating the fall. Swords are fall. And that's indicating that we're going to see some action in the fall. But the World card indicates that this phase is over. So I think by the fall, if Starmer does step out of power and out of the prime minister role, I think then we'll hear Trump speaking a little bit more frankly about what a poor leader he was. I don't think Trump wants to interfere with anyone's leadership while they're in leadership, but he will editorialize what is going on after. So rise and inspire. I'm going to cover Diddy a little bit later this week. So we're just talking about Keir Starmer for today's live, but I will talk about Diddy a little bit later this week, possibly tomorrow or Friday. Promise. So sorry about that. I'm trying to stick to topics. So, well, let's do this. If Rayner takes Starmer's place, will Trump have her to the White House? That's a yes. Why? Because he is going to want to plant his seeds and let her know that he supports her and that he expects a different government from her, from the one that Starmer was leading up. Pretty cool there. I see you, Haley. So will Rayvac discover, now that they've approved yet another review, that Harry Stalker is an Sussex Squatty fan and Harry had photos with that person smiling. Is Rayvac going to discover that? If those of you that don't know, Harry hustled himself out of a courtroom in the last year because someone came up or yelled, well, we support you, Harry, and it was a Sussex squatty, allegedly. So will Rayvac discover that? Yep. All will be revealed. They are still going to discuss the security concerns, though. I do think that Rayvac is going to have an opinion that Harry almost is the person who's kind of laying the groundwork for the need for security, and that the security will be it's going to be granted in the United Kingdom because, first of all, that's a more cost effective management of Harry, only paying for the security when he is in the United Kingdom. And I don't think that'll be extended to Commonwealth countries. I think he will be on the hook for any other travel. So if he wants to go to Colombia again, or Azerbaijan or Ukraine, wherever he goes, I think he's going to be on the hook for his own security. But if he goes back to England, he will have government level security. Again, it's probably with the same conditions. Give us 30 days and we'll set up a bespoke plan for you. I don't think that Harry is going to get what he wants out of this, which is the 24/7 security. I don't think they're going to find that it's necessary. I think the threats against him in the US are few and far between. I think the only thing that he has is people criticizing his behavior online. And that is not something that he needs boots on the ground security for. He has some security, but he should be paying for it himself. Some of us have had people say terrible things about us on the internet, and sticks and stones, baby, sticks and stones. So I kind of want to stick to Keir Starmer here. But I do see Stephanie's question. If he gets it in the UK, he will push for worldwide. Will Keir Starmer help him push for worldwide, or will Keir Starmer say, Harry, be happy that you've got it here? Keir Starmer is not going to push for it worldwide. He's going to say, you have it at home. That's all you need. You have it in the United Kingdom, and that's all that we can do. Will he get a protection officer like David and Wallace? That is an option. Will he take it? No. I think Harry will say that it's not enough. Not enough. It's not enough. My family is completely exposed and at risk. I think that's what he's going to say. But just for fun, will they discover that there is an intrinsic threat because of the revelations he made about his service when he was in the Middle East? I got 2 cards. He is not going to be happy about it, and I think he is going to conduct himself in a fashion in the wake of that Harry, that is, that kind of confirms that he doesn't need the additional security and support. And I think Keir Starmer may be like, well, there it is. Well, there it is, like the emperor in Amadeus. So there we go. I think we got that. Hi, Craig. Craig, I am sticking to questions on Keir Starmer. Craig wants to know, is William going to take the throne? I will be doing predictions for royal celebrities, the political people that are in play right now. And William is coming up. William is coming up. I'm going to grade my 2025 predictions. As of right now, I have 75% accuracy for my 2025 predictions, but I'll be going over all of that with you guys in a premiere and then a follow-up live. That'll be for the rest of the year. Great question here. Great question here. What is the relationship between Keir Starmer and Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London? The mayor of London. What is the relationship between them? That's not what I expected. How does that means that it's a contentious relationship. How does Starmer feel about Khan? 10 of Pentacles. He's a disruptor. So, but only because his objectives are very different from Starmer's. Starmer has a whole different set of objectives. What does Khan think of Starmer? He'd like to see him swapped out, swapped out for someone else. So I think the relationship is tense. How is it on the surface? What do we see on the surface? 1, 2, 3. I do think that on the surface, they try and be as polite as possible. Again, British people, the ones that I know, are nothing if not unfailingly polite. So I think that there's a level of politeness here that we're sticking with. But I do think that they kind of call each other onto the carpet. Well, that's not going to work, but I do think it's private. I don't think that that is super, super public. And in the meantime, they are working toward their own ends and own goals. So that's what I got. I think the relationship is interesting. Does Khan want Starmer out of there? Khan wants Starmer out of the prime minister role. Absolutely. Absolutely. But he's not going to say that. He's keeping that under wraps. He's keeping it nice and quiet. Nice and quiet. So there we go. There we go. Oh, OSV. Yeah, hang on to that one. I will do that in like a short or something. I was never really a fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene. I thought I hate to say she was like a bit too uppity, but I felt like she was just like a shouty gal. And from my days in corporate, like, you don't want to be a shouty gal. You want to come to the table with some meat on the bone. You want to be able to say, hey, are we doing this? But I feel like she just kind of yells all the time. And there's a little bit of like Nancy Grace in her, like Nancy Grace is a little bit, a bit rabid. Yeah, Nancy Grace is too. But no worries. I'm just trying to stick to this new format. It is a great question, 100%. OSV, you have great questions all the time. OSV is like my top person for giving me great content. So, and just for any of the new people. So, All of my content is based on questions from you guys. Every now and then I throw one of my own in and I say, oh, I'm being a little indulgent. I want to read on this. But for the most part, I take all of my questions from the chat. I formulate my readings from the chat. So I appreciate anybody who's dropping questions. So in fact, I think I need to do like a weekly post where I'm like, just drop your questions in here and keep them kind of all in one spot. I was doing it for Mixtape Monday, and I think I need to do it again. So, all right, so let's see. What are the major points of friction for Donald Trump and Keir Starmer? Keir Starmer just met with Zelensky, I think today or yesterday. I think it was today. Larry the cat was there. We got to ask Larry the cat. So what are the major points of friction? The Ukraine. Not Ukraine. No, Ukraine. For those of you that don't know, if you the way you refer to Ukraine kind of shows your leaning on that. So if you say the Ukraine, you're usually in support of the Ukraine being a part of the Russian the Russian collective, and if you say Ukraine, you're giving more credence to it being an independent and sovereign nation. As a student of Russian history, the Ukraine/Ukraine has been part of the Russian Empire at various stages. So my father's family, we thought they came from outside of Moscow, but in fact, they came from that area in dispute that is part of Russia and Ukraine. So so if people say the Ukraine, they're typically, having a little Russian favoritism. If they say Ukraine, they are usually in support of it being a sovereign nation. So so Ukraine is definitely something that both of them have very firm opinions on. NATO. What about NATO? Seven of Wands. They have very, very different ideas about NATO as well. And trade tariffs, Seven of Cups. I think Starmer has a lot of opinions about the trade tariffs and media fights like the BBC issue. What about that? I think they both have strong opinions about that and directorial opinions about it. I think they both have ideas about how the BBC issue should be handled. So, but Trump really shouldn't have an opinion about that. That's totally fine. Totally fine. So will the relationship between Trump and Starmer plateau, develop? What's going to happen? What's going to happen in that? No, it's gonna go adrift. Gonna go adrift a little bit. Seven of Pentacles. I think that Trump is going to have some serious opinions. I think he's going to say that Starmer should have seen it coming. He should have seen his demise coming. Things were bad. Things got worse. People were unhappy. You have to listen to your people. You can't keep going with your plans if you can't listen to your people. So I think that is, I think history is going to have a very different opinion of Keir Starmer. In 10, 20, 100 years from now, I think people are going to have a very different opinion of him. I don't think anything that he's done that was good, and I'm sure there are some things that were good, but people are just going to, have a very different opinion. OSV, I see your question there. How can Starmer best navigate Trump's unpredictability while maintaining his own stability? He's going to have to mea culpa. And I do think he has to retract some of the things that he has said about Trump. Those were the nails in the coffin of the relationship. So glad you guys like my Donald Trump. It's a little easy when you're from New Jersey because we all talk like that. We're all a bit bombastic. So okay, so let me go back out over here. And is Starmer blackmailing the king with any secrets? Cool question, OSV. Is he blackmailing the king with any secrets? 6 of Pentacles. Page of Wands. And the outcome card. You know, I think he does have some intel on the king and his behavior. However, I think that the power dynamic in terms of public activity, public presentation, Starmer does not have the same longevity that King Charles does. We've seen King Charles since he was a toddler, a baby. We've seen him. He's been around forever. And I think that there is a certain allegiance that the general public would have to King Charles, having been Prince Charles and Baby Charles. I just think that even if he did have some information that he put out there, and it would be, bedroom information. I'm going to say that. I think it's bedroom information. I just don't think that it would really be worth decimating that relationship. I think, if King Charles were to lower himself to be critical of Keir Starmer, the successor may not take up that mantle and defend Keir Starmer. However, if Keir Starmer is critical of the king, no doubt William would come, and when in the fullness of time, when he ascends to the throne, I think he would be very defensive of his father. And even in the process of trying to change public opinion, I think William would be very defensive. Remember the state, we are very much not a R-word family. So I do think that Starmer has some information. Has he threatened to use it? I don't think so. But I think he's let it be known that he has intel. I think he's let it be known that he has some intel. But not going to work because, there are too many defenders of the king, too many defenders that will come to protect the king. So no, he has some information, but it's not going to work. OSV, JT, Justin Timberlake. Is the king involved with Justin Timberlake? Oh, Johnny Thompson. What? Like that they were mixing it up? I mean, Johnny Thompson is a smoke show. So, yeah, I know. Like, we're not buying that. Johnny Thompson. Everybody's coming to Johnny Thompson's defense. Absolutely not. Oh, Johnny. So, very interesting. OSV, good question. We got a question from Haley. So, is Starmer not being honest about the immigrants and their crimes? Let's see if he's not being honest about the immigrants. And I know there was a whole thing with some boats today. Is he not being honest about the immigration? Of course not, but we're seeing it in real time. Yeah, what he says is not what he means. I think as far as the migrants, the immigration into the country, I think he is going to say, well, there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing I can do about it. Is he creating other pathways that make it easier? Are there pathways that make it easier? Yeah, there's a bit of gaslighting going on here. Um, but I think that those avenues are closing, not necessarily because of government intervention, but I think that regular citizens are making it a bit more difficult. So, and we saw that here in the United States, like some of the ranchers that were down along our southern border would, just be out there ranching, and, ranchers always have, they always have those on them. So I think that I think there are some people that were making efforts, but unfortunately, those boats will just keep bobbing around out in the sea, and eventually get picked up and brought in. But they're not walking across the border, so to speak. They're not like buoying up those boats to the beach and tra-la-laing. So is Starmer covering up crimes committed by migrants and immigration into the country? Are they covering up more crimes? Are there more crimes that are being covered up? It's not so much that they're covering up crimes, but they're like rewriting laws. They are creating excuses for some behaviors, which is truly terrible. And we do see this is like a two-tier legal system. So it's really a shame. I just read an article about Sharia law here in the U.S. and that there are some communities that are saying, crimes within certain cultures here in the United States are not the business of the American or the state courts. They are the business of the Sharia law courts, and they're demanding to have Sharia law courts here. Not in our area, in some other areas that have a different demographic. But I think this is something that's very similar. I think they are going to say, well, we need to handle these matters somewhat differently, like the honor things that go on. Those are terrible. I read a terrific book by Osama bin Laden's sister-in-law. It's called Growing Up Bin Laden. It's written by Carmen bin Laden, and she was the bin Laden that was rumored in the news after 9/11 that they had fled New York. But it simply wasn't true. She had two daughters, and one was going to school at NYU and had traveled back to go see her in California. Just as a matter of course, she was not aware of what was going to be happening in New York. She actually had quite the contentious divorce with Osama bin Laden's brother, because he had become more fundamentalist as he had gotten older, and she was worried about her daughter. She was, I believe, an Iranian, but raised in Switzerland. And one of the things that she said was one of her daughters, who is I guess 10 years younger than me. One of her daughter's friends back in Saudi was on her, and her family drowned her in the family pool. Like, that was how they did her in. It is, something else. So, OSV. That is very interesting. That I will do as a reading, as a standalone. I'm gonna copy that. Whoop. I need to copy this, and it is not letting me copy and paste. So I'm gonna have to do it after. I'm gonna have to do that after. But that's a wild assertion. Yeah, Samantha, it is something else, right? It is something else. But guys, I think we're going to wrap up this live unless we have any more questions. Yes, I got to the end of the questions that I had on Starmer. So if anybody has any more questions, oh man, Swedish Princess too, for Pete's sake. Epstein was everywhere, wasn't he? He was everywhere. So, all right. Last call for any questions, guys, regarding Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer. Any questions, kids? Let's giddy up, buttercups. Going once, going twice, and I'm gonna close the questions. I forgot to take that off on the production video, so I was a little embarrassed about that. The questions are closed, kids. So, guys, I am going to be open on Hypsee for the rest of the day. So I will be sitting here, hanging out, just waiting for people to roll in and get readings. So if you want, let me drop the link for you. Paste. This is also in the description of all of my videos, and I will put up a community post. I'll put it up on all my social media that I'm live right now. But guys, this was fun. Did you have a good time? Are you enjoying this format? I really want to know that before I close out. Are you enjoying this format where I start with my framed questions and then kind of bring your questions in? Maybe they're questions that you guys have from the reading or questions that you already had pre-existing. So how are we enjoying this? Is this working? Is this my new format? I try to give you a little tease with the short before I get started. And then you get like a whole like hour and a half with me. And then the rest of my day is free to take private readings. It kind of works for me. Oh, Witchy One. Hi, how are you? It's good to see you. I do have to do my membership and general live tomorrow for your questions. But I think as we go into 2026, I may do lives for you guys for questions that you want in the afternoon. So I think, in the morning we do production video, ask questions about it after live. And then maybe in the afternoon, I come back and do an hour of questions for you guys where you can just get readings. I think that might work. That might work. I'm gonna be on YouTube like all day long. So, all right. So I've got a few yeses. So hopefully we'll get some more. Anyone not like it? Otter Spirit, guys. Here, I'm going to drop the link for that. And there's Otter Spirit as well. Otter Spirit is a company that I am an ambassador, and they have intentional jewelry. I am wearing my citrine and moonstone mini today. And they do have they've excellent pricing for the holiday. I especially like the bundles the curated bundles they do for the month, because they're usually relevant to the birthday month. So, like in October, they had the Scorpio set. I got the Scorpio set. My mom's a Scorpio, but it was like really serious empowerment. So I did get it, and they're super, super dark, like obsidian, garnet. And the other one is, I can't remember what it was. But yeah, it's I absolutely love them. I'm having a great time stacking them. I think in the spring I'm going to start going like with a lot of blues. I'll get a whole bunch of blues for the spring and just start stackety stack. Don't talk back. But all right, guys, I am going to close this out. Thank you so much. And I will be working for the rest of the day. So I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. And tomorrow, I'm not sure what we're going to do tomorrow, but it is going to be the predictions for 2026. So I'll do my review in 2025. I'll do that in the production video, and then I will come over to the live and we will ask more questions. So with that, guys, I am going to bow out and turn my app on. I hope you have a magical rest of your day. If you want your own magical reading with me, come on over to Hypsee. Or you can schedule one on there, or not schedule. You can get a recorded reading. I've got a good rhythm of how to do those now. So I send over the video to you and you let me know if you have any questions. So I will see you in the future. Bye now.